we need to understand reality. It's maybe the most important thing that we can learn and know about. The further we get from reality, the more that we're getting closer to death. So there's this issue where reality is true and it's life. Life matches up with reality. The further you get from reality, then the further you get to the opposite thing of life, which is death. So the further you get from reality, the more you're getting close to death. An example of this is pretty simple stuff. If somebody tells you that this is gasoline, if somebody tells you that this gasoline is great for drinking, whenever you're thirsty, just drink a big cup of this. Whenever after you work out, just drink a bunch of gasoline, you're going to get sick, you're going to die. So there you see that principle. The reality is that gasoline is toxic to the human body. So once you got away from the fact that gasoline, the reality, which is gasoline is toxic to the human body, now you've gotten away from that reality to a place where it's a lie and it's false, which is the opposite of reality and truth, then now your life is in danger. So there you see this principle. The further you get from reality, the closer you get to death. And so since reality is very often very simple and very obvious, we think that we don't need to be told or we don't need to be educated a lot of times about what reality is. And yet, so much of what's going on is taking us away from reality little by little, and we're constantly getting more in danger. So this is why you feel tense. That's why most of us tend to feel very tense and anxious. We feel a sense of alarm and stress because we feel that we're in danger, that something bad is going to happen, something bad is coming, something bad is going to happen. And it's true. Whenever we get away from reality, and the extent to which we get away from it, we're more and more in danger. The further you get from reality, the more in danger you are. So then, who is teaching us about reality? The person, the system that teaches us about reality, accurately describing reality, they're bringing us closer to life, to real things, to be able to make decisions and deal with real things. The opposite of that, people that teach us false things or teach us about alternate realities, which are not accurate, now they're drawing us to death. And so if you have learned, let's say, from your parents or when you were growing up, who do you learn from when you're growing up? The people that you're around growing up. Who do you learn from now? The things that you expose yourself to. If they have any shortcomings, if they have anything that they don't understand or that they're describing reality in the wrong way, then that's putting you in danger. And everybody has shortcomings. So whoever brought you up or the school system that brought you up, they got some things right and they got a whole bunch of things wrong. If your parents brought you up, maybe they got 75% of stuff right, which would be crazy high, and the rest of it they got wrong. And so you're constantly being taught, usually you're being taught some right things, and then it's mixed in with some wrong stuff. And the wrong stuff is putting you in danger. If your parents taught you something, and let's say they were off by 25%. And then now you go to school or you talk to your friends and they're off by 40%. And now you turn on the TV and the TV is off by 70%. Those gaps are increasing because we're constantly being educated in one direction or the other. We're either learning about truth and getting closer to a full picture of what's really going on, or we're going away from it. And the tendency is to go away from it. So the flaws in your grandparents' understanding, for example, were passed on to your parents. And then your parents added to that those flaws in understanding, their own flaws in understanding. And so it increased. So the tendency is to go more and more towards illusion and not having a correct, clear view of reality. And so we could visualize this by thinking, for example, if your grandparents had this much knowledge, right? Their cup was this much full with knowledge. And then they poured from that into your parents' cup. And now some of it fell out. Some of it got spilled out because we don't listen. And we don't absorb all the information. We don't respect it when we're growing up and just in general. So some of it got spilled out, got wasted because they didn't explain it well enough. And then some of it got wasted because it came in here, but then we poured it back out because we didn't care. And so from this, let's say it was 1 liter of knowledge. Now how much actually got transferred to your parents? Maybe 0.75 liters. And then now that knowledge tried to get passed to you, and then a lot of it got spilled out, a lot of it got poured out because we don't care. And so 0.5 liters. So if you, even here there was already lack. This cup was not full. There was already a gap here in understanding of reality. This is already somebody who's in danger. They're making decisions with a lack in their understanding. Here there's somebody who's even more in danger. They're making decisions with a lack of understanding. Here is somebody who's making decisions with a very great lack of understanding. And these gaps here, here and here, there is a lot of effort to fill this lack of understanding. There's a lot of effort to complete this knowledge here. And so where does this come from? This comes from corporations, people trying to sell you stuff, right? They're trying to sell you something. So they'll tell you stuff to fill these gaps. So if you don't know that your life is valuable, the company will come. So there's a spot here that says this spot should have been filled with the information. Life is valuable. Your life is valuable. Now, because that's not there, there's space for a corporation to come and tell you, your life is valuable if you own this car. There's place for somebody to come everywhere where there's lack. There's room for somebody to come in within teaching you something which is not true. And when they teach you something that's not true, they're able to get your money. Because what is money in a sense? Money is time. Time is life. And so they're taking life and we're willing to surrender it because we don't know what is true and what is real. So how much risk are we in? We're in a lot of danger. Wherever there's gaps in our understanding of reality, we're willing to drink gasoline. We're willing to trade precious things, valuable things, for things that don't really matter that much. And we all have a need for education. But when we go to school, when some of us go to school, the number one question that people ask is, how does this apply to my life? The number one question when people become skeptical about their education, something that's going on in class, they say, how does this help me in my life? This is a very good question. This is a very, very good question. Because education should teach us reality so that we have life. How does this education help me in my life? Education should teach us about reality and should directly apply to life. It's life-giving, it's life-perpetuating, it increases life. Education, correct descriptions of reality give us life and increase life in us. The wrong type of education takes life away. It's coming and it's cutting in and taking pieces of life away. This is what we need to understand, and this is what we need to work on. Reality is simple, but when there's gaps in our understanding of reality, we can be drawn into all kinds of crazy stuff. And when we're drawn away from reality, we're in danger. Death is there. Death is in the place where reality does not exist. And one of the main things, for example, also that people say is they say, when something crazy happens, or they're looking at something pretty crazy, they say, wow, it looks like a movie. That feels like a movie. So another very, very common statement is, it felt like a movie. Right? So when something exciting or crazy happens, it felt like a movie. Why is our reference point a movie? A movie is not reality. A movie is not reality. And yet when we see something which is intense and exciting, we don't think about, wow, it felt like reality. When I saw that happen, it was crazy and intense, and it felt like reality. No, we say it felt like a movie. Because we're so off that our reference point for what's happening around us, when it gets exciting or intense, we say, oh, in life, the thing that is exciting and intense is a movie. It's not reality. So our reference point about what is important in a way, or exciting, or grand and adventurous, is something that's not even real. So this is our reference point for the things that are crazy around us. When in fact, the craziest thing and the most important thing is just reality itself.